that's just how they're wired. That's just their programming. That's just how they think.
It is how they think.
Like they can't stay on topic. You want to talk about Obama? Where do they go? Back to Bush. Or the Republican Party. They can't focus. They can't stay on topic. It's always divert. Go somewhere else. No. I am glad to talk about anything and anybody you want to.
Right.
But we are talking about A. Let's focus on A. You want to go off and talk about B, C, D, and E? Let's do it. But you stay with A first.
Yeah. So you're saying if it's established we're talking about A, let's only talk about A. Don't go and talk about B, C, and D.
No, not yet. We can move over there. We can make connections as to how it's all messed up because it's all connected, right? But if I'm talking about Obama, let's talk about Obama.
Yeah.
You want to praise Clinton? We can do that later.
Yeah, we can do it later.
But that's C.
That's
We're
C.
on A.
We're working on A. That was
Is that right or wrong? I mean, it's just it's like a mathematical equation. It's just, come on now.
Yeah.
Solve the problem first. You got to solve this part before you can solve the second one. You know what I mean? There's steps.
I fully agree, and whenever they come on TV and they do that, I just
Please
cringe.
excuse my dear Aunt Sally.
Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally.
Remember that?
I do remember that. It's the order of operations.
That's the order of operations. That's right.
You do the stuff inside the parentheses, and then
right.
after you do that, then you do the exponents, and then you do multiplication, division from left to right.
Yes.
Then you do addition and subtraction from left to right, and that's you have to always work in those steps whenever you're solving a math problem. But
you know why? Because it works.
It works. That's
just the way it is.
Those are the rules.
You want to have a conversation, there are rules to conversation. There are, because if the point of conversation and to discuss topics is to sort of come to some solution or agreement, right?
Yeah.
Then there's a point to conversation. So there has to be some sort of rule.
I'm kind
some sort of flow, right?
Well, yes, I agree with you, but I kind of think that that's not the purpose of conversation anymore all the time on TV.
Not on TV.
Like whenever they have these hacks come on, and they talk about these things like that one lady. Talking about A, and then she brings up B, C, and D.
Yeah. Well, it's not. It's all for ratings. And that's why people are so upset with the media, because they bring people on, they call them experts, they call them analysts, and then you listen to them talking, like, what the hell are they an expert on? What are they analyzing? I mean, what are they looking at?
What are they an expert on, or what are they analyzing?
Yeah, I mean, they just don't understand. Look, I mean, Trump caught everybody off guard. All right?
Yeah.
Or that's what the story they wanted to show in hope that would be the group think.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of make people think that, he can't do it. He's just unelectable, unpresidential.
Well, they said that from the start.
Correct. So that's what I'm saying. There's one of two reasons. Either he really truly did catch them off guard, or they knew that he was going to be a threat to them, and they were trying to stop it as soon as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yeah.
Right? What else is there? Now, I happen to think that there's probably a mixture of both.
I think there's a mixture of both. I think that their egos are so big, though, that they probably thought, like, oh, they're just going to laugh at this guy, and then he'll be out of the race in 3 weeks.
I think that's 70%
versus 30.
That probably trumps it. Yes, it's probably this. Yes, that's probably, I would agree with that.
Yep.
And now it's the anti-Trump. Now it's we messed up. We had our chance for the past 9 months to nip this in the bud. Now, Pandora opened the box, everything's out. How do we close it, or how do we contain what's going on here? And now it's complete self-preservation mode. And it's interesting to see some of these guys, somebody like even a Karl Rove, who I really despise. I can't even stand looking at him.
Is it
He looks like a pig. He looks the exact pig. Like if you had a Pink Floyd album, he would be the pig. You know what I mean? On Animals.
I kind of want to pull that album up right now and see what that looks like here. Pink Floyd.
Animals, it looks like a factory. Got pigs flying around.
Is this it here?
Yeah.
Okay.
The pig flying in the clouds there.
Is that it right there?
Yeah, I think it's a pig.
Well, I'll take your word for it. But
I'm pretty sure.
so I guess the point is you're saying you can imagine his face being on there.
Doesn't he? Does he not look like a pig? He looks like a pig.
Yeah, like whenever I hear him talk, I kind of think to myself. I mean, I think he's bright, in terms of the like some election analysis kind of stuff with the delegates, and this state has this many delegates, so here's the strategy going in. Okay, I kind of get that. Where I wonder if he has an understanding is what really makes the American people tick.
He had enough understanding to get George W. Bush elected.
Yes.
But what does that tell you?
Well, who is he running against? He's running against Al.
Well, yeah,
Al Gore.
Hey, he got the popular vote, did he not? I mean, a lot of people.
It's a good thing too that Jeb Bush was the governor of Florida at the time too.
Yeah, that didn't hurt.
Didn't hurt. So, here she is again.
Yeah, she's always upset. I mean, they're just so easy to upset. I mean,
speaking of
they're
upset,
thin skin, man.
Speaking of upset,
Can't stand free speech. Something they don't want to hear.
so down at this Emory College, I guess a bunch of students were.
There, it's right there.
Is that it? They're talking about it now? Traumatized. Trump 2016. I think the thing that's so upsetting too about that is.
Here, what's he saying?
What's he saying?
Support on there. I mean, that to me would be more controversial.
Did it raise any controversy? The pro Bernie Sanders?
It raised no controversy.
No.
Well, there you have that. So, dude, who are these people just walking around that they just bitch all the time, complain all the time? And I guess my other question is, where did they get this righteousness that enables them to feel as if they can just walk around and complain about things? And the thing that's worse about it is, from what I understand, that university president, he pretty much just said, like, well, we need to understand the diversity of opinion. If I was the president, I'd be like, dude, people, that's what they think. That's their right to free speech.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what are you bitching about? I just don't understand it. Like, why?
No, I don't get it. And
Where does
the sense of entitlement or righteousness come from?
Where does it come from?
Yes. What do they want you to do? Because if it's free speech that they don't agree with, they want to stifle your opinion.
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't get. So that there's the huge inconsistency with that.
Yes.
That's the problem. I mean, if you're for free speech, you're for free speech.
I am entirely convinced that is, if they could wrap themselves in that cause, and if there's a dual purpose served, and it perpetuates their agenda or it furthers their agenda, and they can wrap themselves in free speech, then they're all for it.
Well, here's the further thing that confuses me, that I don't understand. Why is there such anger towards Donald Trump by the people? What has he said or done that has been so
outrageous,
over the top, to warrant such reaction? I don't get it. I don't know what he said or done. And when these people are interviewed, I don't hear anything either. Fox News had something on, and they had two people who were at those Chicago protests or whatever.
Yeah.
And they were making stuff up.
Yeah.
Right on the air. And it was Megyn Kelly.
Yeah.
Who stood up for Donald Trump and said he never said this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
You're making that up. So you have these people who are going to these events, happy that they're stopping people from attending a rally, which is within their rights to do.
Yeah.
And they're claiming victory. They're patting themselves on the back. All the while, they're going to claim to be advocates of free speech. There's a disconnect. Something's not making sense. Something's not adding up. And then you ask them what's going on, and they're making stuff up as to why they're upset about the man. What has he said?
I don't know.
It's so terrible. I want to put a temporary ban on people coming into this country. Well, those people happen to be blowing themselves up and other people in the process. Might be a good idea. We have an incompetent government that everybody agrees with.
Yeah.
Nobody likes Congress.
Mhm.
That's the universal,
Right.
right?
So
Nobody likes them, okay?
Yeah.
So if they're incompetent, nobody likes them, how is the
If
government
it's-
going to properly vet all of these people coming over? You know, even President Obama said, hey, you know,
can't
an
catch 'em all.
outrage, an outrage to it. Not even that. He said, okay, almost conceded, okay, I understand the men. But then he mentioned women and children, right? What happened shortly after that? Do you remember? San Bernardino.
Yeah.
A man and a woman
Together.
together. So
Yeah.
there he goes. You know, he can never say anything right about this stuff. ISIS is JV. Now they're taking over the Middle East. You know, I mean, what is his focus? What is his point? I appreciate some honesty from the man just to come out and say, I don't believe in our foreign policy. Then stop half-assing it, because that's what we do.
That's every
That's
day.
all it is.
Yeah.
And that's why
Mhm.
Donald Trump's message resonates.
Right.
Because you can't win if you half-ass everything.
That's right.
You can't.
That's right. I think, and this is part of the reason why Donald Trump is appealing so much too. Whenever Lindsey Graham talks about foreign policy, for example, I think it's pretty evident that we would be here 15 years. I think Trump has also made that point too.
Minimally.
Like, okay, well, if you want to keep doing this, then we've been here 15 years. We're going to be here 15 more years if we're going to continue under this Lindsey Graham type of foreign policy. I kind of agree with him on that. And I think a lot of American people do at this point too.
Yeah, because I can tell you.
If you think about this, we used to go to war, World War II and back. You go in, you kick ass, and then you're done.
Yeah, best you can.
We have one objective, and that's to defeat the enemy, and then hopefully from there, the war's over with. We can kind of we can rebuild things from that point.
Mm-hmm.
That's the point. That's what the point of war is. So what do we have now? Like what was Vietnam about? What was Korea about? What's the war in Iraq about?
It's all ideology. It's all ideology, and well, I mean that's at least how it's framed. Of course, a lot of it's about money and power and control, and that's what it comes down to.
With Vietnam, if you ask like why did we go into Vietnam, I guess it was from the perspective of the government in terms of what they told the people. It was we have to stop communism, right?
The ideological argument.
Yeah, we have to stop communism. We can't let it spread.
Right. While at the same time preaching that it's a flawed system that will fail and collapse under its own weight.
So just let it fall and collapse under its own weight.
Yeah.
Right? It's fun to think about the opportunity cost of having not gone into Vietnam and been advocates and having been an advocate for liberty and having been an advocate for freedom. If we had always towed that line,
Correct.
wondering where the world would be now.
Even if you don't even go back that far, just even to this war on terror that we've been spending trillions of dollars on.
Mm-hmm.
And what's the result? We have a new enemy. They're more sophisticated. They're better financed. They're better organized.
Mm-hmm. More pissed off.
Mm-hmm. We're spending trillions of dollars and we're not winning. This isn't over yet. What's going on? And then because on the other side you're going to claim to be the most technologically advanced, smartest, most well-trained, best fighting force the world has ever known.
Yep.
Yet we can't beat, by some estimates, and I heard this on Fox News.
30,000 guys.
100,000 Muslims who are, who partake in jihad or whatever the hell you want to call it.
100,000.
100,000. Okay, that's by some research that he cited, some think tank or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking to myself, my God, what a fraud then that has been placed on the American people to spend trillions and trillions of dollars for 100,000 people.
Yeah.
You got to be kidding me.
Well, hey, dude, where's the money going?
Okay, where's the money going?
This is kind of what I want to talk about with investment, with like how it pertains to investment. So,
Where's the book?
where's the book?
Yeah, you have it there. Let me see it.
Is it? Here it is.
I'm going to show you something. Aerospace and Defense.
Aerospace and Defense. Okay, this
Yeah,
is
one of my favorites.
what page is that, by the way?
This is page 273 in the paperback.
Okay.
Aerospace and Defense, the Sigma section, 1983 to 2013. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
We have Lockheed Martin, Boeing, United Technologies, General Dynamics, and Raytheon that caught our attention. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Lockheed Martin is the leader as far as share price is concerned. What we noted at this time of writing the book, Lockheed Martin was just a little north of $140 per share. Boeing just slightly behind. Lockheed Martin is over $200 now.
Yeah, that's right.
So, since we wrote this book, you're talking almost a 50% increase.
Right. That's
Just in stock price appreciation alone, not to mention that they pay, I think, a 3 to 4% dividend. Okay?
yeah. Don't forget about the
Sequester
sequester.
my ass.
We both said at the same time,
Right.
right?
It just doesn't work that way. And you could look at the other ones, and they're all, to my record, I believe they're all north of,
That no.
to where they are now, yeah. To where they were when we wrote the book to where they are now, they're well north. In share price appreciation, they all pay a nice dividend. They all pay, you know.
Oh yeah, 3-4%, right?
Mm-hmm. That's, I mean, you have to own the government. That's what you're owning when you own these stocks.
Right.
I mean, look, some of the wealthiest counties in this country are around Washington, D.C.
Maryland, Virginia, right there around D.C. Those are the
What's that tell
wealthiest.
you? They are.
And what's that tell you?
That's where the money's flowing. And let me tell you, I used to live down there.
Tell me.
There are cranes all over the place. There's nothing but building. That's all they're doing. That's where your tax money's going. That's where it's sent. That's where it stays.
That's where the power is, dude.
Where the power is, it's concentrated there. You have to admire, in some sense, their audacity. They don't care.
Don't give a
They
shit.
don't. No, that money's going, trillions of dollars.
Mm-hmm.
I want some of it, and they go and they get it. You have to lend it. You have to hand it to them on that.
Bold, man. They're
They
bold.
are bold. They are hustling, but it's so morally and ethically wrong. And that's what this country's waking up to.
Well, they don't give a shit, dude. Well, again, dude, the only people offering anything different, in my opinion, right? Trump and Bernie.
Trump and Bernie.
But
Bernie's really not offering anything different from as far as what the world is used to.
Yeah.
That's an argument that's been around
Right.
for 100 years.
It's new for
More
America.
than that. Well, in your face, it's new to America.
But-
as much as he advocates
Right.
socialism.
So you're saying he's the first candidate to ever come out and be a viable candidate and say, like, I stand for democratic socialism.
Yes.
He's the first one to openly admit that.
Yes.
No, I think we all.
To that degree,
I
have a
think
following.
I think we all know that there's plenty of socialism to go around here in America. I mean, just stop and think about this: Social Security.
Mm-hmm.
What's the first word there?
Yeah. It is. I mean, yeah, people will mock that, but that's true.
That is true. That
People
is,
say, "Oh, that's not an argument." Well, we're not saying that's the argument, but that's the start of something.
yeah.
It is socialism, okay? It's
Social
like
Security
you said,
is socialism, and we're not, look, it's good for some people. Some people like rely on it. Like we're not saying it's a you know, like that's true.
Yeah.
That is true, but it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it might be fun to kind of think about the 5 remaining candidates. Maybe throw like Paul Ryan in there as a possible convention pick.
No.
Like what would go?
Go ahead.
I was going to say, like, what would? So, like, at the end of the book, there you talk about we talk about the aerospace industry.
Mm-hmm.
We got media companies. We got the sin stocks.
Mm-hmm.
What else we got?
Pharma,
We got big pharma, big energy.
consumer.
So it might be fun to kind of project here, like if Hillary is the president, which industries are going to do the best? If Bernie's the president, I mean, how is that going to affect things? How about a guy like Kasich being in the Oval Office?
Sure.
What if Trump's the president? What if Cruz is the president?
Sure.
So I don't know. Me, I mean, whenever Bernie Sanders goes at Hillary and says like she got paid $500,000 or whatever to speak at Goldman Sachs, I just stop and think to myself like, well, you know, I don't think we're saying anything that people don't know by saying that Hillary Clinton is the status quo.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's the status quo.
Yeah. And her trying to
So, go ahead.
And her trying to move herself away from that is just really ridiculous. It just feeds into her dishonesty. You've been there, lady, for 30 years.
Yeah,
okay?
you know
her
how the
husband.
game works.
You're part of the system, okay?
Yeah.
You have no great legislation with your name on it, okay?
Yeah.
You have no great achievements as Secretary of State. And this isn't even, I mean, she can't point to anything, let alone her supporters.
Yeah.
Name me 3 things that she's done, that she can do. And all they do is they give you title. Oh, well, she was First Lady. Oh, well, she was Senator from New York.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, she was Secretary of State.
That's right.
Yes, wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
And what did she do?
Libya turned out well,
Yeah,
right?
Libya turned out fine. Syria didn't escalate. You know, Iraq's just fine. I can't wait to go on vacation there next year.
Yeah, that's right. Got some nice beaches there, right?
Beautiful beaches. Beautiful beaches. You know, go hang out with the Sumerians for a little bit. You'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get it. She's done nothing. I mean, whether name major legislation, whether you agree with it or not, like a Dodd-Frank.
Yeah.
Okay, we disagree with that.
Well,
okay?
I mean,
but you have 2 names on it.
Yeah.
It is a landmark legislation. Doesn't mean it's landmark in the sense that it's good.
Yeah.
But it's a huge regulatory bill.
Right.
Okay.
I think it's very.
That's nothing.
I think it's very important. Right. I think it's very important too. To, like now that you mentioned Dodd-Frank, it's very important for the listener to understand that. Don't let anyone kid you. Dodd-Frank benefits the big banks.
No, absolutely.
It's going to benefit the big banks because
Absolutely.
there's a lot higher regulatory requirement as required by that bill.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So that means the big banks, well, they got the money. They got the money to be able to comply with it.
Right.
Your smaller regional banks,
Right.
they're going to have a harder time
Right.
to
And it's a
comply.
huge barrier to entry for other banks to come in and get started.
That's right.
And like we show in the book,
Mm-hmm.
there aren't that many banks that are starting up.
There's not. No, that's
Just
right.
not. They're just not. So
It costs too much money to start up.
yes, it costs too much money to start up, and there's too much unknown. There's too much volatility, and they just they don't know what's going to happen.
And
That's the unknown.
I
mean,
think this is an important thing to say here. So if I'm correct, I believe Dodd-Frank was passed in 2010. Okay.
that could be right.
Okay. So Dodd-Frank passed in 2010 under President Obama, and since then, how have the big banks fared?
Well, they've only gotten bigger.
Exactly.
But that was
they
right
have
after the
only
crisis.
gotten bigger.
Bigger, yeah. I mean, that was regardless of Dodd-Frank, that still would have been their trajectory. You know,
Yeah.
that's all it is. And too big to fail is the catchphrase.
I just think it's funny here that the liberals that hate the big banks and how big the big banks are, and like, well, you just have more of it. You have a lot more of it since Dodd-Frank. The funny thing is, I mean, they might have the best of intentions, but they just don't have the antidote, or they don't understand what the antidote is, and the antidote is freedom.
You know, I don't even know if they have the best intentions in mind. I really don't.
Yeah.
I don't, because there's so much. I mean, or they're just that incompetent. Because you get what I'm getting at. You can only do something for so long before you have to stop and look at the facts and the results of what you've been saying, what you've been doing.
Right.
And everybody's in agreement that it's messed up.
So, case in point, Detroit. Nothing but liberal Democrats running the city for 50 years, and we all know how that turned out.
Yeah, not good. Not good at all.
Yeah.
I mean, and it is. That's a good example. It's just any time the government intervenes, it's going to distort the marketplace,
Right.
and people are simply going to respond to those incentives that are
Put in place.
put in place.
Yes.
Whether it's to stay and invest, or whether it's to close up shop and go somewhere else, and whether that means leaving Detroit to go to Pittsburgh, PA, or leaving Pittsburgh, PA to go to Cleveland, or from going to Cleveland go to Naples, Florida.
Right.
Okay, it doesn't have to be overseas.
Right.
But if you're doing something at a state level,
Yeah.
same concept applies.
Well, I think about Rush Limbaugh. He left New York because the taxes were just too high.
Right.
So he went to sunny South Florida to sit behind. I love this, like that jerk part of Rush Limbaugh's personality, where
Yeah.
he left high tax New York to go to sunny South Florida with a 0% income tax,
Right.
to sit behind the golden EIB
Yeah.
microphone to make obscene profits.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Good for
fun.
him. More power to him. I mean, that's
More
exactly
power.
what you're supposed to do. Vote with your feet, right?
That's right.
You know, and that's easier said than done
Right.
for a lot of people.
And I think that's why, I don't know, I'm sure this is the case for you. That's why the idea of the Affordable Care Act, the Affordable Care Act, we should call it the Unaffordable Care Act.
Well, that's
right?
what it is. It is
Yeah,
unaffordable.
the Unaffordable Care Act. I think that's why people like me and you that are so dedicated to the idea of freedom and liberty are so against it.
Yeah.
Is because, okay, it's one thing if people of Vermont or people of Pennsylvania say we want to have like a universal healthcare system in our state.
Mm-hmm.
To me, okay, I wouldn't be for that. However, the people there, they're still free to get up and pack. They can pack their bags and they can move to a different state. They can vote with their feet, and that in and
Right.
of itself is going to hold government accountable.
Right. At least
But
it
with the
should.
fe-
At
but-
least it should. Yes.
But with the federal government,
Where do you go?
it's across the board.
It's across the board. Where do you go?
So to me, that's what's so appalling. And I think on that point,
But to you, that's what's appalling on a fundamental basis. The principle of it to you.
well, that's definitely true.
That's one
and
thing.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because I've made this point to people too. Even if you could prove to me that economically, from a resource allocation standpoint, the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, this is the best for the general good of all of the country. Even if you could prove to me that was true, and we know it's not.
Yeah, we know
it's not. But even if that was true, I would still stand against it, because I believe in individuals making their own decisions.
Right.
And I believe in the sovereign individual.
Right.
Because whenever you have individuals making their own decisions, you're going to force them to make good decisions. Like, so people if they're out there and they're more on their own, then
They have to think.
they have to think. You're forcing people to think. You have so many people now that just don't have to think. And they're totally fine going through life.
Yeah.
Not having to think.
Yeah.
And what are the results? Well, they say, like, oh, we spend more money on education than any other country.
Yeah.
But we're number 30. We're 30. We're 30. It's next to, I guess, what, Sweden is first, and Liechtenstein is
Mathematics, whatever
second.
they got,
And, I don't know. I could be wrong about which one's number one and number
No,
two.
the point is,
but
we spend all this money, and what's the return on investment?
it's
that's
very
what
poor.
your point is.
That's the point.
I mean,
And
you wouldn't give
why
your
is
money
that?
to a financial advisor,
Right.
keep giving him more money, he keeps losing it,
Yeah.
and he says, well, I just need a little bit more.
A
And he
little
keeps
more.
losing it again. I mean, when do you say enough's enough and fire the guy?
Yeah.
When do the American people stand up and say enough's enough? We're getting rid of the federal government and the education system.
Mm-hmm.
Even the state government, for that matter. I mean, the state has a role in, I think, networking with other states to find out best practices. That's what I think government's about.
Mm-hmm.
It's a social network.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we're over here in Connecticut. We're sort of struggling with finding out a best way to educate our children. We're looking for new solutions.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
Go to
fine.
Congress and talk to everybody else from every other state.
Yeah.
And find out who's doing really well.
Mhm.
And find out what works for them and why it works. And then see how you can do that in Connecticut.
That's right.
Okay? Now, you're going to have different things, but that's fine. And you're going to have a different, there's some nuances because we're so diverse as a country. There's just different beliefs, and there's just different demographics.
And,
It's a different makeup,
and here's
that's
the,
fine.
this is what is different about us compared to others. You mentioned that diversity, and we're totally fine with that.
Absolutely.
Oh, it's fine. That's a great thing,
Right.
and that's all the more reason to espouse freedom
Right.
and to reject this idea of government coming in and saving the day. Because at the end of the day, if you have a diverse population, people are going to have different beliefs, and that's fine. That's cool. They should be free to live their lives.
Right.
Let them do what they want to do. I don't need government to set rules.
No, let
for
the
me,
chiefs fall where
for
they
me, for you.
No.
I know what I like to do. I like to talk about these kinds of things. I like to play guitar.
Right. And the idea,
That's fine.
And the idea that it's the government that has to have such a big role in education, I think, is really insulting to parents and families and the teachers.
Yes.
That's their job. That's their passion. That's their life. What parent wants their kid to grow up to be an idiot, uneducated, unskilled?
I don't know. It doesn't make any sense
Doesn't
to
make
me.
any sense at all.
But I don't know. We got to end it there.
All right.
All right.
Tune in next time.